So yeah, YCS Japan just happened. They had 31% Dragon Tail, 20% Malice, 20% Tenpai, 14% Yummy. So it really does show that like Yummy is not the force to be reckoned with that a lot of people thought, and Dragon Tail is going to be best deck. Malice is also a lot stronger in the TC or OCG because their hits were a lot less, and they also have Snow in the OCG. So they can still run the grass build with like 3 thrust over there. So Malice doing as well as it is unsurprising. Tenpai at 20% is kind of crazy, I won't lie though. It is a best of 1 format. You guys gotta realize this was a best of 1 YCS as well, because these YCSs get to be like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people. I don't know how many were at this one, but because of that, it ends up actually being one of those events where they have to do a best of 1 in order. The event takes place in 1 day though, so it is what it is. I feel like they could probably make it best of 3 in 2 day, but it is what it is. Wait, Tenpai got first? Oh, so yeah, they have 3 Sengen Kaimen, guys. This is no surprise. This is why it's so good in Master Duel, and this is why Tenpai needs to get nuked in the ground in Master Duel, because in the best of 1 format, this fucking deck does absolutely disgusting things to every deck around it. So no surprise to me that I got first and second place. It's running freaking Sal's Ban, Red Reboot. You love to see it. But in terms of real decks, we had Magicious Dragon Tail, which I actually thought this version wasn't as good, but this version obviously has a ton of non-engine slots and the ability to pump out powerful fusions. So I could see, and also you have Savage too, which is kind of crazy. And then we have the 4th place Yummy Canine, which Canine is basically a small Gamma package, like these 3 cards, 3 to 4 cards. It's basically a modern day Gamma package to make a rank 5 on your opponent's turn, so that's pretty cool. We see Pure Dragon Tail here with the Dragoon package, also with a Tyrant Dragon that I can make with a this dude, whatever, Mysterion, which you saw like some branded players teching eventually, but you can make it so easily in this deck that like yeah. And then Malice is doing well here with the 1 shifter, 40 card with the adding Nister package. Really standard pure Malice is probably what it's going to be looking like in the TCG post-ban list, unless we run I mean, Fiendsmith is there, so you know, we'll see. See Mermal Atlantean, shout out to Long John Silver. This build is not running the barrier statue, so like even if barrier statue gets banned, like Long John, it's so funny because you guys can just start running the Ice Jade package with the Ryo and start locking that way. It's so crazy how like this deck is actually like they're gonna have to put Dragoons to 1 or something to make this deck like not that viable or something, I don't know, or like Neptibus. Like this deck is so good as it is. And they still have Bahamut here, right? They still even run Bahamut, as you see, without the Toad. Tenpai is vile if you can't side out for, exactly. That's why I think like there's a fundamental flaw with Master Duel when like Tenpai is as good as it is. Then we see top 16 White Forest, top 16 Malice, more Yummy. So I mean, it's basically looking like a Dragon Tail meta when it's this represented. But there were other decks. There was 1 branded we're about to go over since we did get a donation to that. Shout out to Kai. So yeah, we're going to go over the list now. But it's really cool. Get your Dragon Tail stuff, guys. If you want to play Dragon Tail, you guys see you want, you know, King of the Swamps or start like picking up the Magicious package. There was also a Dragon Tail Primite build too, and a Dragon Tail Fiendsmith deck that top 64'd. So Dragon Tail can be played with Primite and Fiendsmith, which I did test with Fiendsmith. I thought it was okay. I thought it was honestly pretty good, honestly. I didn't have any issues with it. It was just like kind of a big engine requirement, but the extra I can fit it. So this is the list though for branded. This is Nietz on YuGiOh on Twitter. This guy is famous for running 60 card branded. He literally has like a framed picture of Cartesia's art with like 7 different Cartesias. He collects like branded card, high rarity branded cards in English and plays the English over in the OCG sometimes, which is so cool. And he recently just got top 64 with branded. He went 8-2 at YCS Tokyo. Used 60 card fusion. He went against Labyrinth. He lost against Labyrinth, won against White Forest. Winning against White Forest too in this format where there's Baron just everywhere is pretty impressive. Malice he won, very impressive. K9 he won. Makes sense because K9 doesn't really, you don't run hand traps, so you know they really can't get one up on you. K9 win, that makes sense. He lost the Dragon Tail matchup, which is interesting, even without the new fusion that's not even out yet. Tenpai lost, that makes sense. I mean, you probably lost die roll. And also Malice, if you lose die roll versus Malice and they just establish Apo. I'm assuming, yeah, he won the die rolls, I'm pretty sure, on those. I could be wrong. Then he lost against something in top cut 8-2 in the top 64. So yeah, this is the list. He ran his OCG cards with the Shadals. So we've covered plenty of Nets' list in the past, actually. He's the guy who has pioneered the King of the Swamp plus the tier limit package and branded every time he brings a branded deck to an event. He typically tops with them, and he also is able to use a really unique strategy with the King of the Swamps with the tier package to facilitate Grasslook Screener being really strong while also running a Shadal package. He's running Shadal's Fusion with Dragon and Beast, so he can go out to the App Cologne. Actually, how is he making App Cologne? Because these require 2 different attributes. I always see this. I'm like, wait, hold up. You can't make App Cologne. So I'm kind of, I guess you're never making App Cologne, right, off the Shadal Fusion. I guess he's always making Construct or Winda. But this has always been a really cool build because he's always like put out super gassy builds where he runs these tier limit cards in the King of the Swamps. And I actually never really liked the King of the Swamp stuff. Me and like Yuri Diaz when we were testing a lot. Another branded goat. We tested a lot of the King of the Swamp stuff like months ago, and it wasn't very good. But in the TCG at the very least, you know, they have Gimmick Puppet over there and Expulsion, by the way. So look at that. That's so crazy. But now with the Dragon Tail stuff, which you guys saw in those Dragon Tail builds before, you know, King of the Swamp is already a card that you run in Dragon Tail, and Dragon Tail is very good in branded because you have a 1-card Dragon Tail combo through branded fusion. Check out my video on it if you want to see what I'm talking about. I have several different Dragon Tail combo videos and deck profiles. I also have a spreadsheet for Dragon Tail on my MetaGamesGX spreadsheet, so pick up my spreadsheet if you want to get it. MetaGamesGX.com. And also, everything's always linked in the description too if you want to help support the channel. He's running 2 of the Dragon Tail Rahu, which is the Dragon Tail branded fusion. Dragon Tail is a very cool fusion archetype because it is kind of like tier limits and Shadals, where like whenever they're used for fusion material, they float and give you advantage. And then also that you have a branded fusion for the deck, so you can send monsters from your deck to the graveyard to make the fusion. You usually have to send 1 from your hand to activate to summon the Altharion. And he's only running Altharion. He's not running the Athena, I think it's called, which is the on-board pop if you activate a Dragon Tail card, which makes sense because Altharion's a broken card. This fusion is absolutely nuts. Like, let me see if it's on. Yeah, so Altharion is absolutely cracked. Let me see. This thing, if this card is fusion sub, you can target monsters on the field or in any graveyards up to the numbers monster material used from the hand, return them to the hand. So you basically get to recur a card from your graveyard to your hand. You could also stop something in your opponent's graveyard, or you could bounce a card on either field to the hand. So it's an interruption, and it's also recurrence. So this card's like broken. You can like recur whatever you might need, like a Magnamut or something like that, or like a, you know, anything. And then also you can help this break the board. But why would you run the Dragon Tail stuff in branded? Because these cards are board breakers whenever they're used for fusion material. Like this Muller, he's a Cartesia, but he's also negates a face-up card on the field when it's used as a fusion material. So you can go Rahu Fusion, and then use any of your branded cards from hand and then send the Muller and then break the board. Also, this card is the ROTA, which helps you fuse if your opponent has monsters on the field. So this is just like a regular ROTA that you can thrust out, I guess. I don't know. The one of is a little weird, but it makes sense because you need more copies of Dragon Tail spell and trap cards to set. He's only running 1 trap, and this is the bounce, I believe. This is the bounce. It bounces 1 attack position monster, so that it just leaves it so you can break boards easier. Like these cards help you go second and also, you know, insulate your board with more interruptions, so I can see why it works. And once again, with the King of the Swamps, these already synergize because Poly is already a great card in Dragon Tail. You get to fuse out, you know, you get to start your whole Dragon Tail engine with Poly, and this time you can just make it with Dragoon, or you can use the King of the Swamp to, in this build specifically, like make a Rule Kalos with the tier names, or like make a Mirror Jade, or, you know, or whatever else. So it's very good in that respect. So you're just doing so much with graveyard manipulation. No non-engine outside of the thrust, which is crazy to me. this guy kind of proves that you can run a gassy build with branded and still punch through boards. Like, this is a format with Apo and Baron, and he's running no droplets, no super poly, right? Like, he's making it work. And I think that's a lot to do with the Dragon Tail stuff helping, because the Dragon Tail stuff helps going first and going second. That's why I think branded Dragon Tail is very underrated, and we see it topping right here, right? It didn't count as Dragon Tail, but, you know, I think this guy is, you know, shout to Nuts, just like, honestly, because this build's incredible, and I've seen him take it from format to format, build to build, and he improved on it with, I think, the Dragon Tail stuff. It makes a lot of sense. It already makes the King of the Swamps just so much better, especially if you ran something like Dragoon or something. I think Dragoon is missing in this list, but he opted to run something like the Albalinatus for Blue Eyes, presumably. Where do you get the Salad playmat? That's a Salad playmat? Thanks for subscribing, Austin Olmstead. Wish we could have back Expulsion, Albion, and Gimmick. I kind of don't, because then the game would be toxic, but I understand. Master Duel YCS, so they get too many entrants, and the workaround is how we can run this in one day. The most Konami logic imaginable, exactly. Imagine how much money we'd save on Japanese printings. The shit says they can play English, but we can't play Asian prints. Not fair. They also just get better prize support because OCG says so. Already testing out a very similar Malice list. It's nuts. Just came back. My second card is coming soon. 2 weeks. You're running Banishment? Yeah, I like Banishment. With Dragon Tail and then Artemagia, then possible branded Wave 2 on the horizon, looking like a great year. Yeah, Year of the Fusion. So I do like this list a lot. I would probably, personally speaking, run like Super Poly. I feel like there's just not enough non-engine, but this build makes a lot of sense to me. It's a very cool build, and, you know, their Therion just, like, add it. I think the Dragon Tail engine's super small in here, right? It's like 6 cards, like, plus 1 extra X slot. That's a pretty good engine for something that you can bridge into with your branded engine if you want to. Or just, like, things like Grass and, like, you know, just, like, seeing King of the Swamp plus a name will get you there. 2 Albaz also makes a lot of sense because of the King of the Swamp counting as an Albaz. I'm not too impressed with Artemagia, if I'm being honest. I'm just gonna be honest, guys. But I do think there's potential with a Wave 2. But yeah, and then the Pearl Rhino, so yeah, that was the list. Yeah, I don't know, OCG is the Wild West at this point. And it's cool to see what they're cooking over there. Shout out to Nuts once again for topping with branded and doing so well with it as he usually does and innovating. Like, I think he was technically the first one on a Stellar